This is a meeting of the Tinton Falls Borough Council being held April 19th, 2022. This meeting is hereby called to order. Would the clerk please read the open public meeting statement?
Pursuant to Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board at Borough Hall and by notification to the Asbury Park Press, the Newark Star Ledger, and the New Coaster at least 48 hours prior to the meeting and filing with the Borough Clerk all on January 4th, 2022.
Thank you. May I ask the clerk to call the roll?
Mrs. Clay?
Here.
Dr. Dobrin?
Here.
Mr. Manginelli?
Here.
Mr. Nessie?
Here.
Ms. Buckley?
Here. At this time, I'd like to invite everyone to join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There is one set of meeting minutes for approval this evening. May I have a motion to approve the March 1st, 2022 regular meeting minutes?
Motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you for the second, Mr. Manginelli. May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Clay?
Yes.
Dr. Dobrin?
Yes.
Mr. Manginelli?
Yes.
Mr. Nessie?
Yes.
Ms. Buckley?
Yes. Before we move on to reports, we've asked Dr. Dobrin will read the following proclamation on Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month.
Thank you, Council President Buckley and my fellow council members for the opportunity tonight to present this proclamation. For 35 years, I've been evaluating child abuse injuries as a forensic consultant to our tri-state medical examiner's offices and teaching professionals to recognize and prevent child abuse. Just to let you know that in the United States, 4 to 7 children die each day from child abuse and neglect. And therefore, this proclamation that was signed by the governor. Whereas there are about 1.9 million youth aged 17 and under living in New Jersey, and whereas it is estimated that 1 in 100 children experience abuse, and whereas childhood maltreatment and abuse are traumatic events that increase in individuals' adverse childhood experiences, which, without intervention, can result in lifelong negative emotional, physical, financial, educational, and social health outcomes. And whereas child abuse is a significant public health crisis, and whereas all children deserve to be nurtured, protected, and free from physical or emotional harm, and whereas the state of New Jersey and the New Jersey Department of Children and Families believe that this healthy family raises healthy children, and the state of New Jersey is committed to offering a continuum of community-based child abuse prevention and intervention programs that are culturally competent, strength-based, and family-centered. And whereas the New Jersey Department of Children and Families embraces the standards for prevention programs developed by the New Jersey Task Force on Child Abuse and Neglect, and whereas, as noted by the U.S. Administration of Children and Families, the 2020 review of child protective services across the United States, the rate at which children are maltreated in New Jersey is lower than the national average. And whereas in New Jersey, the rate at which children continue to be maltreated following an initial child welfare intervention is significantly lower than the national average. And whereas the rate at which New Jersey relies on out-of-home placement as an intervention to keep children safe is among the lowest in the United States. Whereas all sectors of the community, including law enforcement, medical professionals, schools, courts, and media outlets, as well as numerous public and private agencies, have joined forces to promote public awareness and community involvement in keeping children and their families safe, healthy, and connected during the month of April and throughout the year. Now, therefore, I, Philip D. Murphy, Governor of the State of New Jersey, do hereby proclaim April 2022 as Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month, signed by the Governor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dobrin. Now we'll move on to reports, and we'll begin with Mr. Neff, our Borough Engineer.
Thank you, Council President. Last week we had a bid opening for the 2022 Road Improvement Program. We outlined the roads in the budget presentation that we did for capital improvements. We actually had 12 contractors submit bids. That was a huge turnout. So we got some good prices on that. The apparent low bidders, Fernandez Construction, who we worked with on the last one. So at the next council meeting, we'll be presenting a recommendation of award to award that contract and get the big road job started this summer. So we'll move forward with that one. And then just a reminder, still keep an eye out on Shrewsbury Avenue. Our contractors are continuing to work out there. The lane is closed. There is, just be aware driving out there, with the lane closure. The police are out there. Keep an eye on things. Drive carefully. And our contractors continue to work on the park projects. They should have been wrapping up the sod over at the Hockoxen baseball fields today. So that's all I have.
Great, thank you. Mr. Fallon, our CFO?
Yeah, I have no report for tonight, but thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Tarafanko, RBA?
Good evening. No report for tonight.
Okay. Mr. Stark, you're Director of Law.
Yes, I'd like to just make some comments and give some information on ordinance 2022-1487 that's on for introduction tonight. This ordinance will, if approved, release 17 apartments in the Tinton Pines development from affordability controls. What that means is that these apartments had affordability controls applied to them in 1988, so about 34 years ago. And what the restriction said was the developer could only rent those units to low and moderate income families for a period of 20 years. So the developer from 1988 to 2008 was obligated to maintain them as affordable units. After that, the restrictions expired, but the developer, the owner of that project, continued to maintain them as affordable for roughly another 9 or 10 years, and then gradually started renting them out at market rate, which the developer was entitled to do. So what this does, and as of today, all those 17 units are either rented out at market rate or are vacant or have been sold to third parties. What this ordinance does is simply acknowledges what really took place now 14 years ago, which is that the affordability controls have been released because the developer complied with all of his obligations. And there will not be any tenants in those units that are adversely affected by this because of the passage of time. So I just wanted to make clear, because I know some questions have come in about that ordinance. That is what the intention is. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mr. Starkey. Ms. Hutchinson, if you have a report?
No, I have no report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to council reports, and we'll start with Mrs. Clay.
Thank you, Council President. On April 9th, we attended the Easter egg hunt put together by our Recreation Department with the help of DPW and our Police Department. And I would just like to say it was a great day at Sycamore Field, and a good time was had by all. So thank you to everyone that worked on that. On the 10th, I also joined in with Councilman Manginelli at the meeting of the Historic Commission for the discussion of Juneteenth, which is scheduled for June 18th at 3 o'clock, because the 19th is actually Father's Day. So I participated in the conversation around what type of event and what we had planned to celebrate Juneteenth, and that is an ongoing discussion, and I'm sure Councilman Manginelli will keep us updated. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Clay. Dr. Dobrin?
I have no report tonight.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Mr. Manginelli?
Yes, speaking of what Councilwoman Risa Clay just addressed, among the many celebrations that the Historic Preservation is Juneteenth, which is being celebrated on June 18th, and they're planning quite an event, and I think it's something that you may want to attend because it's going to be a fun-filled day. That's all my report, Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Manginelli. Mr. Nessie?
Thank you, Council President, and good evening, everybody. I have a few things to report on. First, for the Planning Board, we heard an applicant from La Rosa Chicken and Grill located on Asbury Avenue. They had a few variances they were looking to be approved on. The big one was for a drive-through. And in such a troubling time with businesses and how things can be a little hard with small businesses. It was approved. This is something that the owner of La Rosa Chicken, I personally think needs for his business, and I think he'll do great. It's a great addition to Tinton Falls for our residents to visit, and I think it'll be fantastic. Our next planning board meeting will be April 27th at 7 p.m. Our Chicken Advisory Board, we have one last meeting before we start accepting applications for raising backyard chickens. Our meeting is tomorrow night, if you want to come, 7 p.m. downstairs. Little League, we have a parade on April 30th. This is the first one since 2019. I know a lot of baseball players are very eager to get out there and play, especially being congratulated to play in our town with a parade. I did as a kid, and I can't wait to support everyone else. That'll be on April 30th, starting at 9 a.m. at Pine Brook Firehouse, and the parade will march down to Huck-Hoxton Field, Field 1, and it'll be fun. And finally, thank you to the Rec Department, DPW, and Police for last week's egg hunt. It was very fun. Kids had a great time. It was very organized, and it was very successful. So thank you to all of them. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Nessie. For my report, I'd also like to echo congratulations and thanks to Rec Department, DPW, and the Police Department for the Easter egg hunt. That was a lot of fun. Great turnout. Great to see all the residents out. Also looking forward to the Little League on 4:30 on April 30th. There will be a litter cleanup led by DPW and New Jersey Clean Communities on May 14th. Flyer just went posted today. That's a Saturday, the rain date at 9 a.m. The rain date is the next day, May 15th. So you should see that online. Looking for any and all volunteers, anybody that wants to come out and help out with that. And I have, we received a submission from our TNR coordinator, Ms. Morgenthaler, which I'm going to share with the public now because she was unable to attend this evening. As of April 15th, Monmouth County SPCA has enrolled 2 cats from Tinton Falls in the Trap, Neuter, and Release TNR Community Cat Program. 1 cat was spayed, neutered, vaccinated, ear-tipped, microchipped, and returned to their outdoor home. The second was humanely euthanized, as unfortunately he presented with bite wounds of an unknown origin. The TNR program is for feral, unowned cats and kittens as per the MOU between the Borough of Tinton Falls and the Monmouth County SPCA. Cats that are otherwise retrieved by an animal control officer fall under the terms of the borough's animal control contract with the Monmouth County SPCA. Such was the case with 3 additional cats that were picked up and surrendered for adoption. TNR is the only effective and humane way to address feral cats in any town. The Monmouth County SPCA has a proactive approach beginning with stopping the cycle of reproduction via spaying and neutering. Vaccinating each cat maintains public safety along with the health of the cats. Keeping kittens and cats deemed adoptable in the care of the shelter until they are placed with adopters reduces the homeless population almost immediately. In addition, allowing feral cat colonies where the sterilized vaccinated cats are fed and managed is key, as it reduces roaming, significantly minimizes unwanted nuisance behaviors, and helps keep track of new cats in the area. Over time, these steps combined with natural attrition and educating residents to spay neuter, as well as keep their cats indoors, will decrease our homeless cat population. This is the 4th year for the Tinton Falls TNR program, and we believe it is making a difference in quality of life for both the borough residents and our community cats. Thank you all for supporting TNR, and I'd like to thank Ms. Morgenthaler, who might be watching, for her leadership in these efforts. And that concludes my report this evening. Moving on to ordinances for introduction. There is 1 ordinance on for introduction this evening. I'd like to remind the public that when an ordinance is introduced, there is no public discussion. The public discussion for the following ordinance will take place when it's up for final consideration. With that, may I ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance?
2022-1487, an ordinance releasing the affordability controls attached to the affordable housing units for the Tinton Pines development. The public hearing will be held on May 3rd, 2022, or as soon thereafter as the matter can be reached on the agenda.
May I have a motion to approve the introduction of this ordinance?
Motion.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Clay?
Yes.
Dr. Dobrin?
Yes.
Mr. Manginelli?
Yes.
Mr. Nessie?
Yes.
Ms. Buckley?
Yes. Moving on, there are 2 ordinances for final consideration this evening. We will hold a public hearing on each ordinance, with comments being limited to 3 minutes. Comments may only pertain to the particular ordinance. May I ask the clerk to read the title of the first ordinance?
2022-1485, ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank, NJSA 40A:4-45.14.
Thank you. May I have a motion to open the public discussion on this ordinance?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Manginelli. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Dobrin. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment? Please remember to state your name and address for the record. Okay. Were there any comments received on this ordinance?
No, there were not.
Thank you. May I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any council members that would like to comment on this ordinance? Okay. Seeing none, may I have a motion for adoption?
So moved.
Thank you. Mr. Manginelli, may I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Dobrin. May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Clay?
Yes.
Dr. Dobrin?
Yes.
Mr. Nessie?
Yes.
Mr. Manginelli? Oh, I went the
Want to
wrong way.
reverse them? Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Buckley?
Yes.
Thank you.
May I ask the clerk to read the title of the next ordinance?
2022-1486, an ordinance establishing procedures and standards regarding deployment of small wireless facilities in public rights-of-way in the Borough of Tinton Falls.
Thank you. May I have a motion to open the public discussion on this ordinance?
Motion.
Second.
Thank you. Thanks for the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment? Please remember to state your name and address for the record and keep your comments limited to this ordinance. Yes, Mr. Kohlberg.
Hi, guys. Mitch Kohlberg, 21 Cedar Place. Thanks, first of all, just for staying ahead of this kind of thing, right, and minding the issues that could arise from the 5G installations. I was just kind of cruising through this. I didn't think there'd be any questions, but there's one here where they talk about the pole siting standards, and it says poles shall not be located in any area with underground utilities. Well, how are you going to do that, right? I assume the antennas need to be up in the air. What do you do in neighborhoods that have underground utilities? Mr. Engineer. Sorry.
Yeah,
Pay
Mr.
attention,
Hess,
man.
do you want to clarify that?
Got the ordinance right here. So the thought was, most of the comments that we've been hearing and anticipating are that residents in neighborhoods that have underground utilities don't currently have any utility poles, didn't want random utility poles throughout their neighborhood. So that's why we put that in there, so there weren't any new poles or there aren't any already.
I would agree with that, I guess, but don't they want 5G service?
We'll have to see how the coverage is. I'm sure if there's issues, we'll be hearing from the carriers.
Okay, that's fine. I was just,
Or-
it just caught my eye. I have poles, there'll be antennas, so I'm not too worried, but it's just.
The hope is we can avoid them if need be, but, if we have to reconsider down the road, if there's coverage issues, we'll weigh the pros and cons at that time.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Kohlberg. Is there any other member of the public that would like to address this particular ordinance? Okay. May I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
Thank you. May I have a
Second.
second? Thank you, Mr. Manginelli, for the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any council members that would like to comment on this ordinance? Okay, seeing none, may I have a motion for adoption?
Motion.
Thank you. May I have a second? Thank you for the second. May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Clay?
Yes.
Dr. Dobrin?
Yes.
Mr. Manginelli?
Yes.
Mr. Nessie?
Yes.
Ms. Buckley?
Yes. Now is the open public discussion. May I have a motion to open the public discussion?
Motion.
Second.
Thank you for the second. All in favor?
Aye.
This is the time the public may comment on any topic of their choice. Please state your name and address for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Before we begin, I'll ask the clerk if there were any public comments received via writing for the meeting.
There were none.
Okay, thank you. Is there any member of the public that would like to make a comment this evening?
Hello, Council and Administration. Nancy Ann Fama, 36 Gallant Fox Road,
Good evening.
Tinton Falls. So I'm just here as a follow-up. I think our last meeting was a very good one, very productive. I'm happy to learn of the council and administration support of additional police officers. I do understand that you're committed to amending the ordinance. I also understand that a study is going to be done by the police department, so I was wondering if, I guess, Mr. Tarafanko could give an update on where that's at, or whoever the appropriate person is.
Thank you, Mrs. Fama. Mr. Tarafanko?
Thank you, Ms. Fama. So we're currently undergoing that study. It's in process, so that's where we are currently. We're going to be continuing to gather this data, and in short order, we're going to present it to the council for review, along with the mayor, and then obviously to you folks in the public.
Okay, so would we be expecting that within the next couple of meetings?
Like I said, it all depends on the amount of data that we have and how we're going to articulate it. And upon review with the council and the mayor, then we'll get it to you. I said that the last meeting, so I just ask that you bear with us for the next few meetings so we can make sure that we have accurate data and factual data to present to you folks.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Tarafanko. And thank you, Ms. Fama. Is there any other member of the public that would like to comment this evening?
Hello, Ellen Goldberg, 90 Glenwood Drive.
Ms. Goldberg.
Friday is Earth Day, and this is Earth Month, and being a member of the Environmental Commission, I'm a little disappointed that we're not doing any kind of Earth Day celebration. That is something that we have done in the past. We're not really acknowledging it at all as a town, really. So I would like to encourage us to do something for next year. I did reach out to DPW early in the year about it, and I guess because of the pandemic and whatnot, it just didn't seem like it was going to be able to be pulled together. So I would really like to put a push effort in so that we have something next year, and we can make a big deal out of it so that we can get a lot more people on board. And I'm sure that most of you know that the plastic bag ban is going into effect on May 4th, and I'm going to be out in the streets banging pots and pans. I'm so excited. Thank you.
Thank you. DPW will actually be at the Tinton Falls Little League opening, and they were also at the Easter egg hunt, along with some environmental commission members, giving out free plastic bags that has paraphernalia to remind everybody about that. And so there are additional bags, and we will see those at upcoming events. Thank you, Ms. Goldberg. Is there any other member of the public that would like to comment this evening? Okay, seeing none, hearing no further comments, may I have a motion to close the public discussion?
Motion.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Miscellaneous business. Does any member of council have anything to add they didn't cover during reports? Okay.
Well, Earth Day is my birthday, so I'm going to celebrate, Ellen. So if you want to join me, that's fine. All welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Dobrin. Let's see, here, hearing none. Resolutions, sorry, lost my place. Before we move on to the consent agenda, are there any items any member of council would like removed to be voted upon separately? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Clay?
Yes.
Dr. Dobrin?
Yes.
Mr. Manginelli?
Yes.
Mr. Nessie?
Yes.
Ms. Buckley?
Yes. This concludes today's business. There is no workshop or executive session. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
I heard Mr. Manginelli first. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This meeting is now adjourned at 7:55 p.m. Have a good evening, everybody, and thanks for coming.
Birthday is my birthday.
That's cool.
I think I came first, though.
It's okay.